say 3, 2, 1, then you guys can start. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so today we're reviewing for the cat organ practical exam. We have part of the respiratory system here. We have a large tube that has cartilaginous rings around it so it doesn't collapse. It is called the trachea. It connects the larynx to the lungs. The moving anteriorly to that is a harder part. This is a vocal cord box. It's called the larynx. It holds the vocal cords. So larynx and trachea. It goes down into the lobed lungs, which are lateral in the thoracic cavity, lateral to the heart. The heart itself is covered with a protective covering. It's serous tissue that secretes fluid, decreasing friction. This is called the pericardium, and this is the heart itself medially that pumps blood. The tissue that is separating out the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity is called the diaphragm. The diaphragm, when it contracts, it helps respiration, inhalation, and exhalation, respiration. Deep to the trachea is the esophagus. It is a softer tube connecting the mouth to the stomach. It runs underneath the heart and the lungs all the way to the through the diaphragm, up through the diaphragm here, entering into the stomach. When you open up the abdominal pelvic cavity, you see this fatty-like covering. This is called the greater omentum. It has fat in it, fat storage, as well as another protective cover to protect from any injuries, including a bacterial infection. When you remove that, it shows and reveals the organs of the abdominal pelvic cavity, which is separated via the diaphragm muscle right here, diaphragm muscle. This large lobed organ is the liver. The liver has many functions. One is to filter out the blood, getting rid of nitrogenous waste. One is to secrete bile, which is stored here in the gallbladder. Bile is a digestive enzyme that breaks down fats, as well as storing glycogen, which is a form of energy. It's two glucose molecules bonded together. So that is the lobed liver. When you lift that up here, you can see part of the digestive system. This large J-shaped organ is the stomach. The stomach has different areas in it, but we're just learning right now the whole stomach secretes hydrochloric acid and protease, a protein enzyme breaking down proteins. It grinds and breaks down the food chemically with hydrochloric acid. Exiting out from the stomach, the first part of the small intestine is called the duodenum. The duodenum. Duodenum still has digestive enzymes being secreted via the gallbladder and the common bile duct, as well as the pancreas. If you lift up the stomach, you can find the glandular tissue here. This is the pancreas. The pancreas has a couple jobs. One is hormonally. It secretes insulin to control blood sugar, glucose level, as well as digestive function. It secretes enzymes to help break down food, and it also secretes bicarbonate, a buffer, which neutralizes in here in the duodenum. It neutralizes the stomach acid. So the acid, the hydrochloric acid, doesn't damage the rest of the lining of the intestines. So the pancreas over here underneath the stomach secretes digestive enzymes, a buffer, as well as hormonally it secretes insulin into the blood. Exiting from the stomach, you have the first part of the small intestine, called the proximal end. This is called the duodenum. This is where digestive enzymes are still being secreted. The longest part is called the jejunum. This is where most of the absorption takes place, jejunum. The last part, the distal end of the small intestine, you trace it back from finding the large intestine. Here, bless you, is called the ileum. The ileum is where absorption is completed. There is connective tissue that holds the whole intestine together. This is called the mesentery. Embedded in it are the blood vessels that remove the absorbed nutrients. That's the mesentery. When you leave the small intestine and go to the large intestine, there's a little blind pouch. This is called the cecum. Little blind pouch. You can actually see it's a little blind pouch right there, the cecum. And then we're going to go into the large intestine. The large intestine, or the colon, has 3 parts. This is all where water gets absorbed, and the feces is going to be stored. We have an ascending colon, a transverse going across, transverse colon, and then a descending colon, The descending colon then will go into the rectum where the food bolus will be stored until it can be released from the body. If you move all the organs over here, you can see this last organ Here, this dark red organ, this is a glandular tissue. This is called the spleen. The spleen has numerous functions involving immunity and housing red blood cells. If you move this all over, you can see the kidney, part of the excretory system. It filters out the blood and controls electrolyte balance as well as blood pressure. It connects via a ureter, here, a ureter, to the urinary bladder. Urinary bladder is a stretchy bag that will hold the urine until it too can be evacuated. The kidney itself and some of these organs are covered by peritoneum. The peritoneum is another serous tissue, secretes serous fluid that decreases friction amongst the organs here. So this is all serous tissue here. And those will be the organs that you'll need to know for the practical.
Swag.
Cool.